Covers, the show for readers, writers, and lovers of books. I'm Stephanie, and I'm myself an author and publisher at Red Penguin Books. We're a publishing company that works with authors of all types and genres. So if you have a book in your head, or a manuscript on your computer, or even 200 sheets of loose leaf shoved in a drawer, because we do get loose leaf shoved in a drawer, visit redpenguinbooks.com and unleash your inner author. I could not be more thrilled than to have a whole bevy of authors today who have managed to unleash themselves. And I couldn't have possibly chosen 3 more different books to be featuring today. Our first author who's going to be up is Sebastian Pandolfo, who wrote McGowan At War. I had to put him first because he is the most serious book, and we wanted to make sure that we spoke with Sebastian about his book before we got to Michelle and Angelle, who are talking about Wrong Guy, Right Room. That's a fun book, and you'll want to hear all about it. And then finally, Srdjan Bogicevic is going to talk about the art of imagination. And this is such a fascinating book because it is an interview with my future. I love the way he looks about that, how he was actually able to interview his future, but I'll let Serge tell you all about that. So I thank you for joining us on the show, and thank you to all of our guest authors. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Our books. I'm here in New York, and part of the fun of this is that we are scattered all over the place. So Sebastian, where are you hailing from right now?
Northern New Jersey.
New Jersey.
By the Ramapo Mountains.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And Angelle, where are you right now?
I am outside of Dallas, Texas.
Oh, terrific. And I know Michelle is a Dallas girl herself. And I heard a little twang there. Very nice. And Serge, how about you? Where are you right now?
At the moment, I'm in Serbia, so that's my home country. It's a little bit dark here, so yeah. Originally I'm from here, but I live in Toronto for years now.
Oh, okay. So you go back and forth between Toronto and Serbia?
Not really. Me and my wife started traveling around the world a year ago, so we're just passing by right now. So we're traveling around the world.
Very nice. Wow, traveling around the world. I'm definitely going to want to hear all about that. That's amazing. Sebastian, I want to get started with you and your book, McGowan At War. What an interesting book. I'm thrilled to have you here, and I know that this has a lot of personal connotations for you. So tell us a little bit about why you wrote the book and how you got started.
Ever since I came back from Vietnam, I've followed the movies and TV shows and books about the war, about America's participation in the war, about GIs, and I felt that there was always a need for perhaps a different perspective, even though it had been covered literally hundreds of times. There was always something more that I thought was missing. Particularly, I think, the fact that not all of the GIs who went there were the same. They weren't the stereotypical drug-addled, violent, out of control people that perhaps we saw all too often depicted in movies and so forth. And the other thing was the people of Vietnam themselves. They are a completely diverse collection of cultures. I wouldn't even say there was one culture. Sometimes the groups are at odds with each other, and violently so. And sometimes they work together and achieve great things and have over the centuries. So I thought perhaps a different perspective in that regard. And finally, I have, when I was working as an attorney, I needed something to do to occupy my spare time. And writing was one of the things I chose. My my other hobby is making furniture,
Wow.
but sometimes the climate and other things are not suitable for making furniture, so I can devote more time to writing. And I would say that initially I approached writing like I would making a piece of furniture, as an act of construction. But as time went on, I realized that it was more important was to do it as an act of chopping away, getting rid of superfluous stuff, that which wasn't necessary, and so forth. So I hope the result is interesting, and I hope it's understandable by people who perhaps don't have much of a military background and are not familiar with it. I think it would still hold your interest.
Well, I think that you're absolutely right. It's for people without a military background, as well as those who do have one and can read back, maybe even from the same era, who were like you in that same situation. How much of the book is autobiographical and how much of it is fiction?
I would say that a few of the people in it were based on or resemble people I knew.
Okay.
And I can't specify which ones.
Of course.
And
Our lips are sealed.
yeah, and some of the activities that take place. I won't say I had a very active or dangerous role in many of these things, but there were operations and such that I had some tangential involvement in, and was able to pick up information that way.
Yeah. Now that you've gotten to finish it, and I loved your talking about writing the book and the way you were describing it. You kind of started plotting it out like you were building furniture, but by the end it sounded more like I was picturing a marble sculpture that you had to chip away at things, or maybe a wood carving that you chip away until you find the gem in the middle. Is that a fair way of looking at it?
Unfortunately, probably a better analogy is a butcher trimming fat.
But you end up with a fabulous cut of meat at the end. So that's all that matters, right?
Good. Good way to put it.
What was the book, twice as long at some point and then needed to be trimmed down? Or are we talking a little bit?
Indeed, I would shoehorn in all sorts of incidents and features of the war that I found interesting or amusing or dramatic at some point, but couldn't really be hammered into a cohesive narrative. So perhaps the next one. I hope to have a sequel to this one, and may be able to fit some of those things in the next one.
Oh, fantastic. I love that. So anything that got trimmed away like a butcher, we didn't just discard it. We put it over here for the sequel.
Right. I know you're using the analogy that I think Michelangelo, I think where you have a block of marble and you take away everything that isn't David. I wish I could qualify for that sort of analogy, but
I think you qualify. But I'm so glad you mentioned that, because so many writers out there, I think you're giving them permission by saying, you are here, a published author, and what you did at the first outset, you needed to realize that there was a lot of paring down that had to be done so that you can have good pacing, that you would keep your readers' interest, etc. So many times when I meet new writers, they think that whatever they write first, that it all has to stay. Was it difficult to let some of those things go, or maybe even painful?
Initially, yes, it was. I didn't think I could do without, but as I keep reading other things and other authors, and the more I read over the years, I think the more refined, I hope, the more refined the technique came, and I realized that letting things go was not a painful thing. It was useful.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you mentioned that about reading, because, you know, certainly the great writers, Stephen King says, if you want to be a great writer, you have to read. And that's how you learn to hone your craft, by reading the greats. What do you like to read, Sebastian?
Probably most often John le Carre, interspersed with P.G. Wodehouse. I love those. I liked a lot of what Tom Wolfe wrote. I thought he was a terrific writer. But I do read a lot of history. And I think Andrew Roberts is probably my favorite writer. And I also most recently read something by Victor Davis Hanson, a history with a different perspective on World War II. And I like that, the idea that he went at it in a fresh way, even though, of course, in the 75 years since World War II, everything that could conceivably have been written has been written, but in fact, he had a fresh perspective.
Right.
And I love that, you know, just looking at something that you think is familiar and learning something. And I hope little by little, I hope a little of that has gotten into my book with regard to the Vietnam War and the country of Vietnam.
Fantastic. Now, you mentioned that you're already working on the sequel. That's always my final question is, so what's next? Now, in the sequel, will you still have your main protagonist, or are we going to go in a different direction to get those stories in?
His name will appear again in the title.
Okay.
So we will see what happens to him. And I wish I could tell you that I know exactly where he's going to wind up, but I thought this was sort of a phony cliche when I used to hear other writers say, when I used to hear writers say it, they would say, well, the characters will tell me. And lo and behold, these characters are telling me. I can't believe that, but that's an amazing epiphany.
Oh, I love that. So the characters are leading the storyline like in real life, because, you know, don't we, I hope, have some sort of control over our own destinies?
Well, my wife also.
Oh, so your wife gets to decide where the characters go, but not you, the writer. And yes, you are a writer, Sebastian. So it is other writers, because you are a writer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we can't wait to read the sequel and find out what happens next to McGowan. That's for sure. Now,
working on it.
You're working on it. Okay, good stuff. In a totally different vein, Michelle and Angelle have written Wrong Guy, Right Room. I don't think this book could be any more different than a book about the Vietnam War if we tried. I hear laughing already because they know that I'm right. So please welcome Michelle and Angelle. So nice to have you here.
Thank you for having us. And you are right. We are as far away from war as possible. Rom-com fun escape.
I love rom-com fun escape. But tell me first, because I know you know that I was very confused when I first saw your book, and I thought it was by an author named Michelle, Angelle, and then all of a sudden we were going to have two people on the show. So tell me about how the two of you met, got together, and discovered that you were writing this book.
Yes, Michelle, you want to answer this one?
I will if my audio is okay.
Doing great.
Well, Angelle and I have been friends for nearly 20 years. We were book club friends and wine night friends, and we've continued to be friends even though Angelle's has moved around a bit and I stayed in one spot. But we were excited to write together. We had been writing together, and this was an opportunity for us to really take it seriously, and we've had a blast.
So you've been writing together before. If you were book club friends, how did that first conversation go? Ooh, you want to take this in a different direction? Let's write something. Bring me back to that first conversation.
You know, that conversation might have been almost 20 years ago, so it's a little rough. But we went to a book club together and actually started a book club, and we were kind of the nerds of the book club when we would bring research and questions, and eventually we started talking about, well, the work I'm writing, and we started sharing that writing. And then one day we were sitting at a cafe and said, you know, we should do this together. It would be super fun. And so we created a blurb and an outline, and next thing we knew, this book was written.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, have you worked on any other joint projects together or separately? Tell me a little bit about that too.
Yes, I actually have another book coming out in a couple of months with a different friend, but Michelle and I are halfway through our second book, which we're super excited about.
Yes.
And the process was so much fun that we anticipate many books coming out.
Ooh, well, we're going to have you on the show when these new books come out, because this was a fun read. I got to tell you, this was absolutely a fun read. Michelle, how about you? Any other either solo ventures or with someone else, or is Angelle your only writing buddy?
Well, I originally was interested in writing young adult books, and I had written some, that were more, I guess, not a full length, and really needed to be more developed. But I've had so much fun going down the happily ever after route with Angelle that I think I'm never turning back.
All right. I'm all for happily ever after route. That's for sure. Can one of you give our viewers a little bit of a synopsis without giving away the big reveal or anything?
Well, okay. I will, since Michelle's audio is going in and out a little. Caitlin is set to be married for the weekend and hasn't tried out, I'm going to say, her fiance yet. And so she sneaks into his hotel room to see how that's going to go for an evening, and finds somebody else in bed instead. And then a viral contamination locks down the hotel. And so chaos ensues.
And chaos ensues. Now, it's funny because I don't know how long ago you wrote this book, to be honest, which I'll ask next. But, I read it in the past couple of days, and we're in the middle of a quarantine because of a virus. And here I was reading about these people stuck in a hotel, quarantined because of a virus. Now, did you write this during quarantine, or was this before?
If we had written it after COVID, then we could have added the toilet paper debacle and all kinds of crazy chaos that we didn't know was going to be an issue. So no, this was written before we even knew what COVID was. Yeah.
So providential, because I felt like I was reading a COVID-inspired book.
We were talking to our future selves, much less like Serge, right?
Well, now I'm a little terrified. You two are working on something else, and I'm afraid what you are predicting for our world here.
I know, right? It's a little frightening. The new book, though, is a little lighter spin on Boy Meets Girl.
I like the spin on Boy Meets Girl. I'm a rom-com girl myself, so I'm all in favor. Now, how has the reception been from family, friends, book club members? How is that all going?
Well, it's been very well received, obviously, with our friends and family, and so well received that a lot of newbies to rom-com have maybe adopted that genre into their reading.
Very nice. You got some more readers in there. That's fantastic. I bet you had a lineup of people who wanted to be your beta readers on this.
We've had a lot of people tell us they didn't know we were so funny. So that was the best compliment of all.
That is a great compliment. Well, I'm meeting you here for the first time, and I think you're absolutely hysterical. So
thank you.
But I did get to read the book first. So now, tell me a little bit about writing in partnership, because I must admit, I have never done that. I've never co-authored a book. So how does that go? Sebastian was talking about how the characters tell him what's going to come next. But now there's two of you with voices in both of your heads, and I'm kind of curious how this is working out.
I think that we have channeled each other somehow, and we can read each other's minds now. It is almost a little spooky how we end up going in the same direction. We've even had a lot of people tell us they couldn't tell who wrote what line was what, or they couldn't hear that there was a difference.
Right.
And so we really work together. Thank goodness for Google Docs. We can share one document and kind of write on top of each other. And we're really good about leaving comments and saying, yes, keep doing that. No, don't do that. One of the things I think we had to do is shed our ego completely, which is a great practice for life in general, so that we were able to say, you know what, this isn't really your best work, keep going. And I think it made us better writers in the long run. So it truly is more fun to write with someone, is the truth.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd be terrified. And there's that OCD part in me that wonders, you know, does Michelle write one character and you write the other? Does she do a scene, then you do a scene? Like, how does this work?
Well, so it starts that way with the draft. We do say, okay, you take this, we outline it, and then which is kind of a fun couple-month process of exploring and playing imagination. So then we have this beautiful outline, and we kind of divvy up what we're going to write, and then we've got the skeleton, and we can go in and just change and fix and clean up, and you know, the editing process, which is the drudgery of the whole thing, right? It ends up, so we don't know who wrote what, because we go in and expand and enlarge what each other's concepts are in the first place.
Right.
So yeah, it's really more of a writing on top of each other than you take this and I'll take that.
Okay.
So there's not really a separation. We also have our talents. Michelle is the queen of detail and the minutia of things, and I'm more so we work well together.
Did you have any I don't mean to say disputes, but you know, did somebody want it to end in a different way, or a different character? Or Michelle is laughing, so now you have to answer that one.
Well, Angelle does not like epilogues, and I love epilogues. I believe every book needs an epilogue. What happens next? Give me 10 years from now. I have to know. So that was something that we did have to have a discussion about. But she was always on board, and that's something about our friendship, is that we really support each other. So even if maybe we have a difference of opinion or a preference, we respect each other's choices and opinions, and we really support each other. So we always feel like we're on board with each other's choices.
Oh, I think that's just fabulous. And it sounds like you're having a ball doing this too. An absolute ball. So I know that you're working on another book together. Now, any of the same characters? Are we still in California? Angelle is shaking her head. I guess it's a sci-fi book and it takes place on Mars.
It's about war. It's about war this time. No, I'm joking. No, it's completely new, although we have had lots of people tell us they want Adam and Noah's story from the first
Yes,
one.
I understand that.
So we might have to eventually visit some of our old friends, but we have new people that are ready to burst out.
Oh, okay. Totally new people that have not been in these books before, but
And it's set in Dallas this time.
oh, okay, okay. Because I thought you were in California. You were writing it so well.
We were dreaming, you know.
California dreaming. Well, have you been
Right.
before? Is that how you knew where everything was, or not really?
Visits.
Okay.
Visits. I'd like to say author visits, but no, nothing that interesting.
Hopefully after COVID, you can do author visits to Santa Barbara and all the other
That would be wonderful.
that you've been. Absolutely, that would be wonderful. Well, I'm so glad you brought up Serge, who is here to tell us, how to find out what's going to happen in the future. That was what I would love to know. Serge wrote The Art of Imagination, a strange interview with my future. Well, Serge, I want to know how to interview my future, because I'm dying to hear all about that. But I want to hear not only about the art of imagination, but you are traveling all over the world, and I want to hear all about that too. So Serge, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. First of all, I'm still trying to figure out, am I the wrong guy in this right room right now? That's the first thing I'm trying to figure out, and then I can figure out everything else.
You are in the right room. You are absolutely in the right room, and no worries there.
Okay, so tell me, what do you want to know first about?
Tell us a little bit about the art of imagination and how did you start that book? I mean, that's a handful. So give our viewers a little bit of a synopsis and how you got started.
Well, the truth is, I wrote it for myself because I wanted to keep my mind positive during difficult times. And it was summer 2018. I believe all of you guys, especially all authors, you have this, let's say, inspiration from a deeper voice that was telling you something to do. So we call that intuition, right? So I have this voice that keep telling me, write a book, write the books. I was like, okay, I'm gonna write the book. I'm starting now. So I have to say, my English is second language. I learned English like only 3 years ago.
Wow.
And I have no idea how to even write a blog post, let alone a book, right? So I open my laptop and say, okay, today I'm writing book. So I sit down. I didn't know what to write about it, so I closed my laptop, and I had the same night again the voice. So let's keep for a while, like a couple of days. It has to be like 10 days. I keep listening, like hearing this voice, because I'm meditating. I'm in that world, so it's nothing unusual there. Instead of I don't know what to write about, just one day out of nowhere, like think from within, like from within, and think from the end, like what my life would look like if I'm 84-year-old Serge. What kind of life I would like to live if I was like already that person. So I'm like, okay, let me play a little bit. Let's interview my future Serge. So interesting thing is the way I did it. So because I'm studying brain and I'm studying neuroscience because I love it, like something that I really love to do in the meantime. So I understand how some things works. And once you ask yourself questions, like the answer will come, right? So the thing is, I was asking myself the questions that I need answers for at that time. So we're talking about 2018, 2 years ago, but my life was like, stagnated, it didn't move into any direction. So I asked normal questions, how to improve my life, how to change my beliefs, how to use my imagination to actually do something in my life. So you jump from one subject to another subject to the next subject. And that's how it went. So I ask the question and then I respond. So how it works? Basically, this is, let's say, a little bit scientific explanation. When we're writing, all of us, and I mean all of us, get into the zone. We call it writer zone. In that moment, our brain waves go down to deep alpha, possibly even theta. My only explanation is that I was really highly suggestible at that moment because the doors between the conscious and subconscious mind were wide open. And I just received some downloads or insights from a greater mind, or you can call it God or universe, whatever you want to say, right? Because lots of the things that I wrote in the book, I didn't have idea, I didn't have a knowledge that I have that inside of me. So for many things, I had to Google it to figure out, did I stole it from somebody? You know, I read hundreds of books on self-growth. So it's possible you stole from somebody in a way that you took something and put your own words. But when I find out that I didn't put in nobody's words except my own, and that became a little bit scary because as well, I thought like, okay, something's a little bit weird here. But I decided to play alone. And in the end, the result was, you know, that one book for now.
Wow. Well, I'm just loving that image of getting a download from a higher being, almost like into a USB drive. If only that were, you know, we could just plug that into our computer. I'm sure any of us with writer's block would love that. So thank you so much for that.
All of us are getting there because otherwise none of these three wonderful authors would write their books. They got the ideas from the greater mind. It's just I have a different kind of ideas or knowledge that I got. So we all got different things. Or let's say we got what we need at the moment.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right that we're getting that. I just meant, wouldn't it be nice that sometimes when you feel like you're stuck, if you could, you know, actually take the flash drive and put it right into your ear or something to push it along. That's just fantastic. And what an image. So is there another book coming after this? Is there going to be more? Are there more flash drives in your future?
Well, let's say like this. The truth is that whatever I wrote in the first book, most of the things I didn't quite understood. So it took me like 2 years to apply that knowledge. So here I am writing about something that I'm not applying in my own life because I didn't know about that.
Gotcha.
So I applied that knowledge and I started to research all of it. So now I need a scientific proof how all these things works. Because I'm a science guy, I love that. So I want to know explanation of it. So what I did, I started learning extensively. Now I find all of the studies from the wonderful, you know, amazing scientists from quantum mechanics, from neuroscience, from biology, from all these amazing, you know, areas. And so I took their knowledge and I found that what I find out was really interesting that my first book is completely backed by science. So now I transferred into the second book and I put all of the things that I learned in the last 2 years. So how to meditate, how to have different approach. I learned about brain and brainwaves that I explained perfectly in the book. I wrote about the power of the heart. So how the brain and heart are connected and how to create coherence with various techniques through self-hypnosis, breathwork, meditation, heart coherence, different approach to visualizations, and many, many other things. So I just put the science and put the second book, which is called Reimagine Yourself. And it's also the conversation between me and my future. So I'm keep the same writing style because I love it. And I am going to publish it probably in January and February is going to get out.
Okay.
And I also wrote the third book, which is the conversation continues, which is, you know, just continuation of the first book. And actually I have, I believe, a fourth book as well. It's also the continuation because, you know, that's endless questions. Like you're always asking questions and you want to know the answers for that.
Boy, oh boy, do we have some prolific writers on the show today. My gosh, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you all back because there are multiple books coming out. You do have to tell us a little bit about this trip around the world that you're on. You said you and your wife have been traveling around the world and you're right now in Serbia. Where else have you been and where are you going?
Well, for 3 years now, I wanted to travel the world and I was looking for this plan, how to manage to do that. So I found an amazing lady who's now is my wife. So we started dating and like literally a month after we started dating, I was like, babe, let's marry me, let's travel the world. So she was crazy enough to say yes, right? So we ended up engaged, really like, and we made a plan. So it was really like simple, let's say like that. The way it works, and I believe all of us can do that, is that all of us are writers. So I don't know about you guys, I want to do this full time because I know that I love writing. Even if I started only 2 years ago, that's my passion. I love it and I enjoy it. So I want to do this full time because we know that distraction is the biggest obstacle for every writer. We don't want to be distracted by anything, whether it's work or, you know, whatever it is. So you need to give yourself a window of time that you can devote yourself to do something full time and see what's going to happen. So we created a plan like to save money. Let's say we can survive 2 or 3 years without earning a single cent, so we can fully devote ourselves, me to writing and my wife to something else that she's working, privately. So we start traveling in the end of November. We went to El Salvador, we've been to Guatemala, we spent 6 months in Costa Rica. And unfortunately, this new world situation a little bit got us, sidetracked, but we're coming, we are back on track because we don't care about it, honestly. We really don't care. Nothing can stop us. So in about 5 weeks, we are going to Egypt for a few months and going to Africa. So we're continuing.
Wow. I must say, I love traveling myself, but 6 months in this country and 6 months in that country, I see a huge smile on Michelle's face. She is packing her bags while we're talking. That's just amazing, all of that travel. And
well, that's not how I imagined. I imagined travel the world every 15 days, different country, which is fine. But then my wife, she came with the idea, like, she was like, why would we do that when we can spend 2-3 months in one country, really meet the culture, meet the people, meet some new things. I can't even explain to you guys what wonderful experiences I had. I met a group of people, they're all from US and Canadian expats in Costa Rica. Every Friday, they have the teachings on Buddhism, so I never heard about it. I came there, and I mean, the benefits were enormous. The knowledge that I gained from these, like, 80, 90-year-old people who are like in all this personal growth stuff for 50 years. You can't imagine the amount of data that I took from them. It was just to sit there, just listen, don't say a word, just listen. But that's one example. And I was meet a wonderful lady. She was doing the Bradford thing. So I had crazy experiences with her. So you meet people around the world, you hear the stories, you write the books. I had some workshops, like out of nowhere happens. All of a sudden people like, okay, host a workshop in Costa Rica. Okay, host 2 workshops in Costa Rica. Order 50 books from Amazon, sell to Costa Rica, and stuff like that. So it happened all amazing things. And travel the world, guys, is so fun. I don't care how old you are. I met people from like 75 years old traveling around the world. I met people with 3 children, 3 babies traveling around the world. I met all kinds of people, so trust me, it's one of the most exciting things. And for 15 years, I'm saying, world is too big and life is too short to be in only one place.
Wow, what an inspirational thing to say to us. And for writers, because meeting all of those people from all different walks of life is certainly going to help your books. But for all of you, because you are now successful writers, and I know that there are plenty of people who want to be where you are right now. So what kind of tips would you give them if they're just getting started, whether it's on writing or getting finished writer's block? Sebastian, any ideas you want to give our writers out there?
Well, think of what you like to read and think about what you like about what you like to read. And start with that. What if this happened to a person? What if that happened? Well, what if in this situation, what would a person do? And as I say, the more you have read on your own, the more ideas you'll get as to the possibilities.
Absolutely.
And you pick a horse and you ride it, well.
That's fabulous, fabulous. Angelle, how about you? What would you recommend for our writers out there?
I think Sebastian's right. We need to read as much as you can get your hands on, and get out of your own way. Spend time writing. Practice makes perfect. And when you create blocks, you're the one creating those blocks. So keep working at it.
Boy, am I so glad you said that. I often say to people that the biggest enemy in your life is yourself. And we do happen to, put up roadblocks, or it's our own fears and insecurities that might stop us. But in general, the biggest enemy in your world is you. So that's huge. Absolutely. Michelle.
Well, I tend to delete things if I'm not sure, and I've been really trying to let go of that and just write and let it kind of sit there on the page and live there for a while and then come back to it, not be so quick to think maybe it's not perfect yet. It sometimes, perfection takes a while to kind of stew on the page. So just leaving it there and coming back to it and not being afraid to just put down what you want to write.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because too often people have that attitude of write, scribble, write, scribble, write, scribble. And yes, sometimes things need to sit, and writing needs time, And the other thing I love that you said was also to let go of the expectation that what you do first, it's neither garbage nor perfect. It's something to look at later, but too often writers think, as you were saying, that everything you write, garbage, 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 or that, oh, it's so perfect, I shouldn't do anything to it. And probably it's a little bit of both, right?
Right. Yes.
Absolutely. And Serge, how about you? Some tips for our writers out there?
Give something completely opposite of what all of you guys said. First of all, I'm not a writer. I'm trying to become one. So I want to make sure that I've said that. And the reason I said that is when I stopped reading books 2 years ago, which is completely contradictory because I'm a writer. So I'll tell you why. Because I have this fun quote that I invented because I don't remember like that I ever read it anywhere. I said, I don't read books, I write them. So, but honestly, I would tell to anybody, just write, man. Like, just write. And Michelle is right. I thought my first book is the best one. When I write the second one, the first one is so horrible compared to the second one. You can't even compare them. Like, this one is another level, which is fine. That's just a part of the growth. So keep on writing. However, if it's something, if happens to you, whoever's listening or watching this show, that you have a download, I highly suggest you stop reading. The reason why I'm saying this is because you don't want to interrupt that higher knowledge, and you want to let it go because the knowledge you have from within, just let it out. So that's why I have a little bit opposite, guys, what you're saying. I do agree with what you guys are saying. I want to make sure that I said that.
No. I am all in favor of having opposing views, because, one of the things I love about what all of you are saying and who all of you are is we have viewers from all walks of life. And I don't know if they're going to resonate with what Sebastian said or what Serge said. But as long as something resonates so that we inspire people to go forward on their journey, because we want to empower people. So don't you worry a moment if you're going to contradict what everybody else on the show says. Good for you for sticking to what works for you. And obviously, you're sitting here on a show that we are interviewing published authors, so your method works.
Absolutely.
And it might work for somebody out there. Might have heard 4 people in a row and they're saying, yeah, that's not going to work for me. And I like that Serge guy. I like what he had to say.
Well, I just want to add, like, you guys, I'm big believer in listening audio material, podcasts, audio books. It just gives you much more opportunities. So you can do like multitasking while you're doing some stuff. You can always put your earphones and listen. If I tell you that in the last 6 years, I'm listening every day for 3 or 4 hours, every single day something. So that's why I'm saying I'm having some different kind of use, because I believe you should read so you can know how to write, but maybe sometimes it's better to not read something because you can create your own writing form.
That's fine.
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? I'm just like this.
Hey, there's no right or wrong. It's whatever is working for you. And that's what matters, because we've got 3 fabulous books out here, and somehow it is working for you. And that's really all that matters. Just to remind our viewers, because we want you to go out and grab these books, Sebastian Pandolfo's McGowan At War, which is a different view of the Vietnam War than perhaps you have been fed by other books and media and etc. So you'll definitely want to grab that. Michelle and Angelle wrote, wrong guy, right room. So if you just want your fun and flippin' and California adventure and a happy, a happy-go-lucky, grab this, and there are going to be more books to come. And then Serge wrote The Art of Imagination, A Strange Interview with My Future. And you'll definitely want to grab that and get a little taste of what's going on there. You have all been tremendous. Any final words or tips for our viewers?
Stay safe out there.
Keep writing. Good one, Sebastian. Keep writing. Angelle?
Keep reading.
Keep reading. Keep writing. Keep reading. Serge is laughing. Serge is going to keep traveling. He'll keep traveling. And Michelle, what are you going to grab onto then?
Well, definitely, even though we have to maintain a social distance, keep connecting with your friends and your family and try to keep your community still close to your heart.
Oh, am I glad you said that. What a great final word. And for all of our viewers out there, I'll just say, please keep safe and keep healthy also. So keep in touch and watch Between the Covers, and thank you for supporting our authors. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us on Between the Covers. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're an author